Hi friends and library patrons, it is Celeste here again with the first fall edition of Craft at Home with Celeste, and today we are going to make a mini hanging planter out of a glass yogurt jar and some hemp twine. It's super easy craft, and you don't have to have a lot of materials on hand at home. And also, if you eat the yogurt that comes in these glass jars, you probably have a lot of them just sitting around just begging to be crafted with. So when you come to get your kit, you will pick up a bag that looks like this. It has a little label on it, and inside of the bag will be three things: a glass yogurt jar that has some fish tank aquarium pebbles in it. And then you'll find a length of hemp twine that you're going to use to make the plant hanger. I did say three things because there's a special surprise in the bags for you too. We're also going to be giving you a little air plant that you can place on these rocks, and it can live in this glass jar and you can hang it up in your house. I don't have the air plants yet. We're going to go pick them up tomorrow, but you guys will have them in your bags. So the first step is to take your length of twine and you're just going to unravel it. And then what I like to do, you need 4 even-sized pieces. So I just take the ends and put them together. Take the cut ends and put them together. And then I fold that in half too. So you're just gonna take the ends, put them together, and then fold that in half too, so that you wind up with 4 pieces of twine that are the same length. By the way, scissors are the only at-home item that you will need for this craft. So here are your 4 evenly length twines, and you're going to fold those in half too, so that you have a short length of twine. So at the top, you just need to make a loop with your finger here, like so, and then you're just going to tie it in a knot. Super easy. So let's just get this tied up here. Okay, so you have, I did something. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you have a piece you have a loop at the top, and then just your pieces hanging. Since you cut them into 4s, you'll have 8 pieces of twine. And so you just start by taking 2 of them, and you go a little down and just tie them in a knot. Just like that, very, very easy. So we tie that in a knot. So you wind up with the loop on top, and then about 3 inches of twine and a knot. And you're just going to go and do that with, you're going to tie 2 together each time in a knot, like so, and do that to all 4 sets of 2 strands that are hanging. You kind of want to make sure these knots are like close to each other, like this. See, I got them a little off. This knot is a little lower than the other one, but that's close enough, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It's perfect because you made it. So we're going to keep tying our knots here in the twine. Like I said, they're about 3 inches down from the first knot that you made. All right, last 2. So let's get those, loop them up and tie them. Here we go. All right, so now you have 4 knots and then 8 individual strands. This is the trickiest part of this craft, and when I say tricky, it should be in quotation marks because it's not very tricky at all. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 of the ones that you tied in knots, and you are going to take 1 string from one knot, 1 of the loose strings from one knot, and 1 of the loose strings from the other knot. See, I got my two loose strings, and then you're going to come down just a couple, maybe like 1.5 inches or 2 inches, and tie another knot in those 2 strings. And you need to go around and do that to all of the knots. So here's one. So you see on this one, I've got these are the first 2 knots that I tied right here. And then here's the knot that I just tied. So you're going to take one of the loose ends that isn't tied in a knot and go to the next knot, the next 3-inch knot, and you're going to pull one of the strings from that and tie those together in the same place. And again, you just kind of want to get the knots sort of close to each other. So we tie that, and let's just make sure they're close. All right, so here we have, now let me get these loose ones that I haven't messed with. So here we have 3 of the knots that we tied. These were the first layers of knots, and here are the second layers. So I'm tying 1 strand from one knot to a strand from the next knot, and you just keep going around until you have done all of the strands, just like last time. So let's see, I got this strand and this strand. All right. Again, it's like maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches down further than the first row of knots that you tied. All right, let's just sort of line it up here. All right, so now we have 3, and then we should, at this point, you should have 3 knots and 2 loose strands on either side. And so you just take those last 2 and you make a 4th knot that's at the same level as the other 3 you just did. All right. So now what we have is the loop with a knot, and then we have our first 4 knots that we tied, and then we have the second layer of 4 knots that we just tied. And so then what you do is you come down about 1 inch from that second row of knots, and you tie all of the strands together again in a big knot. So let's just twist this up. And get it in. Let's get all these in here so we're all tied in a big old knot. Last one. Come on, get in there. All right, so now we have our hanger is complete. Make sure your knots are good and tight. So, to reiterate, we have the loop on top. We took our twine, we folded it in half, and then we folded it in half again, and we made 4 pieces of twine out of that. We folded the 4 pieces of twine together and made a loop and tied a knot. Then we took 2 of the strands, tied those together and made the first row of knots. And then we took 1 strand from one of the knots above it and another strand from the next knot above it, and we made another row of knots. And then we tied all of them together in a big knot that's just like the top. So now you have a plant hanger. It's just that easy. So what we do now is you just kind of open them up a little bit. There you go. And then you take your yogurt jar with the aquarium pebbles in it, and you just sit it so that the knot's on the bottom, and there you have it. A DIY mini plant hanger made from a yogurt jar. And it's pretty sturdy. Like, this thing is can jiggle around. Like, I wouldn't recommend it hanging it somewhere where it's gonna get a lot of wind or a lot of movement. But if it's just gonna be a hanging plant somewhere where you keep the rest of your plants, there you go. Hanging plant holder. Special thank you to Heather at Tiger Lilies Floral and They're super simple to take care of. If you need more information about them, I'm happy to give you any. And also, you can probably just Google how to take care of an air plant, because they're very easy to take care of. That is it for Craft at Home with Celeste this time. I hope you enjoyed it. If you feel like, if you make this and you love it, drop some pictures on our Facebook page so we can see them. Or you can even bring them in and show them to us while we're here. We love to see the things that you've done with our videos. We look forward to seeing you, and have a great day. Bye-bye.